Hey everybody, welcome to Resident Article channel. Alright you guys, today we are talking about, can you guys guess it based on my shirt and on my mug and of course the title of this video. We're talking about Gilmore Girls, specifically Rory Gilmore's story arc. Now, first thing I want to say is that this video was requested by somebody, so thank you, you know who you are. And just to let you guys know that I do requested videos, so if there's any type of topic you want me to go over, just talk about, or rant about, or, I don't know, review or whatever, leave a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to talk about it. And so let's just go ahead and get started. I think that this also video came at a perfect time because, as you know, the CW will be airing Gilmore Girls, the revival episodes. Here's the date, and it's gonna be for the whole, like, you know, Thanksgiving weekend. So I just think that's brilliant. I think that's what they did for Netflix did as well. Also, keep in mind that not everybody has Netflix, can afford Netflix or whatever. So of course they didn't get a chance to watch it. So I'm really happy that they're doing this. And also, I just love watching Gilmore Girls. Any excuse to watch Gilmore Girls. Am I right? Alright, let's talk about Rory. So first of all, can you guys see how themed I am? You guys remember the moo moo? That Lorelai's like, ooh, look at that moo moo. Reference picture right here. Anyways, so let's talk about whether or not I like Rory's story arc, and then I'll delve into why it's a good story arc. Spoiler. I do actually like it after rewatching, because I really very recently rewatched all of Gilmore Girls. I know that's a little bit of a hike, but I can do it, including the revival, and I actually really appreciate what some might even consider her downfall. And let me explain. I just think it's so much more realistic, and I think that's what Gilmore Girls is about. You know, I mean, whether it's Lorelai's relationship with her mom or her dad, it's never tied up in a perfect bow. There are so many moments, you know, specifically I'm talking about first season, because the first season is gold, you know, where she's having her fights with her parents, you know, specifically I want to talk about her dad. Her dad's like, you know, Christopher comes back, and then also, I mean, like, first and second season, you know, Christopher comes back, you know, and she has a moment with her dad. She's like, Dad, thank you for defending me. She's like, I'm not defending you. You don't need me to defend you. I'm defending the family honor. And then, of course, we get when, like, her dad gets the heart attack, and she just, like, there's so much in that moment, like, left unsaid. Like, she wants to say something, he wants to say something, and then everyone comes in, the doctors, the nurses, Rory, Emily, and then, like, they just never say what they have to say. And I think we're always wondering, like, what were they about to talk about? At the same time, I think it's beautiful because I think it reflects so much on our own family dynamics. Like, I mean, I think that there are just moments, like, whether it's with your own parents, your grandparents, or whatever, there are just moments that, like, you want to talk about, but you just leave unsaid. And I think that's, like, in all the families, whether it's the best or the worst of families. And so that's what Rory's life is, you know. We expect greatness from her, even from the start when she gets into Chilton, you know. But I think we also have to think about who Rory is as a person. I mean, look at the first obstacle that she faces in Chilton, right? It's her, like, her D paper with Mr. Medina, right? And she just flips out, right? And then she shows up to a test late and just throws a huge tantrum. And, you know, of course, we feel for Rory because, like, she studied so hard, she deserves to take a test, but let's be real here. I'm like, that's a temper tantrum right there, you know? And that's that just goes to show you. And then we also get another hint when, like, she's dating Jess, and, like, Jess is like, oh, you want to be Christine Amanpour, do you have what it takes? And she's like, what, do you not think do I have what it takes? I'm like, what if in that moment Jess, instead of being supportive and being like, oh, I'll run with a car, I'll run a car against you and beep at you and go like, ah, you know, I'll yell at you, scream at you, trying to get you prepped. What if instead he would have been like, no, I don't think you have what it takes? What would she have done? Would she have proven herself? Would she have been like, no, I deserve it? Or would she have fallen apart, you know? And I think that even her mom always tells her, she was like, you've always had everything so easy come to you, and when anything gets hard, you, like, freeze up, you know? Let's think about when she kind of turned to Dean, like, when, like, before the affair, you know, before she had the affair with Dean, she, like, calls him, she's like, you know, I'm not doing well in one of my classes, I'm supposed to drop a course load, you know, like, not like my grandfather who didn't take it, and then she just falls apart, you know. School for her is something that was always there for her, was just kind of like comforting nature. And I think even school, especially like if you went to my high school, they were like, well, when you get to the real world, that's when things are happening, that's, you know. And I think that's what we showcase, you know, versus Lorelai, who's, you know, who, when it was her turn to go into the real world, she knew how to fight. She knew that she wasn't going to get a handout. She knew that there was nobody there for her, and that she knew she had to scrap, not just for herself now, but for her daughter. You know, yes, Lorelai has privilege, but at the same time, she also knew the realities of the world, versus Rory, she grew up in Stars Hollow, where everyone was willing to help her. Everyone was always praising for her for intelligence. So whenever she had to, like, go into other worlds and other, like, people who had to push back on her, she always hit a bump, and she just never knew how to fully step herself up, you know. And I think that's what the revival showcased. You know, it showcased her just not being able to handle the expectations of the real world, you know, not being able to, like, handle, like, a simple no. I mean, of course, we get the whole Mitchum Huntsberger thing where, like, she completely falls apart with that one. And I'm not surprised that she does. You know, after watching it again, I'm just like, I see how you fell apart. Do I excuse that? No. She's, like I said, she came from this very nurturing facade where everyone just coddled her. You know, no one was ever real with Rory, you know. No one was ever like, this is what you can do to improve. This is what. And I think that it also came from her grandparents. You know, her grandparents, who saw Rory completely different from Lorelai, they also never really critiqued her. But can you imagine if Lorelai would have been successful? You know, like, she would have had Rory the traditional way, and, you know, had her, like, with a husband or something of the sort. And then, like, you know, they would have always constantly comparing Rory to her mother. They were like, oh, well, your mother went to this school. Oh, and then your mother got this career. What are you doing? Versus her mother kind of failed all the Gilmore's expectations. So when they saw Rory actually living up to the expectations, having her coming out ball, no one stopped her. They were like, oh, I see you. You're killing it. I'm talking a lot. Also, there is always coffee in my cup. You know, I will link that interview, Lauren Graham's interview, when she says that line. It's iconic. Anyways, so it's very interesting to see, to not expect Rory to fail, you know, and it'd be naive of us to say that she wouldn't have failed, you know, especially in the real. And I also really love the revival. You know, there are moments. Okay, let's talk about the revival for like 3 seconds. Also, spoilers about the revival if you haven't watched it yet. I don't like all the, like, musicals. I think really it was just the creators' way of trying to, like, put me on Broadway, put me on Broadway. Like, I think that's what the revival was, you know, because we got, like, a lot of musical moments, and I'm like, did we really need all these? You know, I'm talking about, like, the play, Kirk's thing, and then, you know, like, the whole, what is it, Death and something brigade, Life and Death Brigade coming and doing that. I'm like, did we really need all these musical montages and the revival? No, we didn't, you know. And so, besides that, I did like the revival, especially winter. Oh, I love winter. Winter is my favorite season. I hated summer. Summer was the stupidest season. But winter was a great season. And I also, of course, like the one where she tells her mom, I want to write a book about us, and she starts writing the book, and then we see Emily. And I think where Rory ends up is completely full circle, you know, because she was definitely never going to be Christiane Amanpour. She wasn't enough of a hustler, you know. She never had that drive that she was like, I'm going to step on everybody. I mean, we can even see it from her first article at the Yale Daily, well, not her first article, but that article that, like, where she had to join the Yale Daily News, right? She writes it about this ballerina, right? She's kind of a little ruthless in the article, which is great, but then she wants to retract the article because she sees that there are negative consequences to the things that you say, you know. And of course she feels bad, and that's why we also like Rory. She has some sort of, like, moral compass, but at the same time, I'm like, at the end of the day, journalism can be very cutthroat, you know. They're caring about, like, reporting the news. I'm like, yeah. And honestly, it's those headlines that we all like to read, okay? No one wants to read about, oh, like, I don't know, someone famous, Selena Gomez just bought her house in Malibu. It's gorgeous. She's donating millions and millions of dollars to children in need. No, we want to read, oh, she just totally slapped Hailey Bieber because, you know, she said something about her. We want to read those stories, and that's what part of journalism in the news. Everything needs to be breaking news, okay? No one wants to talk about, like, the good aspects, you know. Everyone wants to hear, like, the drama, and the drama comes the negativity. And Rory isn't that type of person, which is why I thought that at the end of the day, her deciding to write a book and become an author, you know, and growing from that, because yeah, Gilmore Girls, I think the book itself could be very successful. She has the connections to push it through publishing, and then she could become an author for other types of books. I mean, she's read pretty much a bunch of books to get her to that point. She's done enough studying. She didn't even go back and get her master's degree because she loves that academia level of structure. So she could do very well in all of that. And I think that's the perfect ending versus her being a journalist, you know. I think, yes, she dreamed of it, and I think that's also kind of a reflection on all people's lives, you know. And I think as I grew older, I learned to appreciate where Rory ended up, because I'm like, the life that I thought I would be living, I'm not living, you know. I'm like, this is not where I thought I was gonna end up being. I really didn't think, like, at my personal age, I would be, like, pushing little kids away and getting Baby Yoda. I didn't push little kids away because I went while they were during school times, but that's like a whole nother story. But it's just a beautiful thing. So, I do 100% agree with who Rory becomes. Hot take though, if you guys want me to do a video about this, I will. I actually don't like where Lorelai ended up in the revival. I think that weirdly enough, I'm 100% okay with Rory's structure, and as I like looked into all the details in Gilmore Girls and like connected all the pieces of like Rory's temper tantrums, I call them temper tantrums. You know, I understand how she got to that point in the revival, and I also think that like you can have a certain degree from a certain college and still not have that beautiful glamorous life, and that's real life, versus someone who didn't go to college, like her mom, can have a really good, nice life, like buying an inn, being a business owner, you know, having, was it Christina Amanpour who ended up going to her inn that day, and like Rory showed up in her PJs. I'll put the right name here. I think it was Christina Amanpour. Ended up going there. So yeah, so versus Lorelai, where she ended up in the revival, I was actually, the more I think about it, the more upset I am about it, especially her not having her wedding at a younger age. And I'll go more into that if you guys want me to. So leave a comment down below if you guys want me to go more into why I didn't like where Lorelai's life ended up specifically in the revival. I can definitely go into details about that. Alright, you guys, thank you so much for watching Resident Evil channel. I hope you guys have so much fun watching the revival. Hopefully, if you haven't already watched it, or rewatching the revival, because maybe I'll rewatch it again, even though I just recently watched it. And yeah, so thank you for joining me. Bye!